Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sin Life Podcast. My name is Trevor Keveloh. That's me right there. This is my first time doing this in a while. It is good to be back on a podcast, running my own thing. Thank you, Joe White, for letting me use his studio here in Austin. This is our first podcast, ours as in mine, Joe's, and yours. So welcome to the Sin Life Podcast. Right behind me is Corrupted Comedy. That is the brand that I had started here in Austin when I moved here about 2 years ago. Originally, I was with the Dojo of Comedy out of Los Angeles. I started that comedy club with my good friend and comedian Sam Tripoli. But March 14th, 2020, it died. It was a COVID casualty. It went away. A lot of things have changed. The world has changed since. I've come from service industry, food, booze, nightlife, all that stuff, drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Basically, that's the world I came from, or come from, I should say. I started out in corporate America, but I had this heavy. I gravitated towards the bar nightlife industry, probably because I'm an alcoholic. I'm actually in recovery, 4.5 years sober yesterday. So. Cheers to me. Thank you. Yes. Something I've noticed, though, I'm going to jump into this. There's a few things I want to cover today. I'm shooting at the service industry, anywhere from chefs to cooks to restaurants to servers to bartenders, all the way into the nightlife industry as well as the entertainment industry. Something I have been able to grasp the past 8 years of my life is actually working in entertainment full time. I actually worked in entertainment previously. I worked with the UFC and the mixed martial arts industry, the niche market, I believe it's called, women's mixed martial arts. But I was involved in that for years, and it was a fun time. But it's part of my past. It's like an ex-girlfriend. It's part of my past, and it's going to stay there. So anyways, something I want to cover right away. I've been talking to a lot of people about this. I've noticed that a lot of bars and restaurants all throughout the country are having a hard time getting people to work. There are people working. They're just no longer working in bars and restaurants. People are sick of dealing with an asshole manager or asshole staff that treat them like shit and pay them like shit. And now you know what they're doing instead? They're working for themselves. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Ubering, Lyft, all that crap. People are doing that now. It's not that people don't want to work. People are working, but they're working under their own conditions and terms. They're sick of dealing with some asshole like me, because I was a manager for a long time, hounding them why they're not there at their shift at 3:30 on a Tuesday. It's 3:40 and they walk in with a Starbucks. Where were you? Oh, there was a long line at Starbucks. That's where you were. I didn't like to write people up. I think writing people up fucking sucks. It's annoying. It's a sense of empowerment, but I know what write-ups are about. And I'm going to tell you people that don't know about it. The reason you get written up is if a company ever wants to get rid of you, they have a paper trail on why they're getting rid of you. They can write you up for anything. California, different story. I worked in California in the service industry since I moved there 8 years ago. California is a very employee-friendly state. Meaning you can do what you want as an employee. However, it's still an at-will work state, so you can be fired or released for any reason. However, California is also a sue-happy state, which means people like to sue for every fucking thing possible. They could sue you thinking that it's for race, religion, sex, gender, the way they did their hair, anything. And their chances are they're going to win. But what I want to kind of go back to is the fact that there's people out there. I'm on all social medias. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and it's just my name, Trevor Keveloh. Kev as in Victor, Eloh. Trevor with an O. You know what I mean? O. Or you can find me Corrupted Comedy anywhere on social media. I've noticed a lot of people, and it seems the more hardworking people, the people that have the blue collar jobs or the jobs that are just harder on you. Complain that there's people don't want to work. People want to work. Trust me, they want to work. They just don't want to work under shit circumstances. Imagine a cook, whether he or she is white, Latin, black, Asian, whatever fucking color under the sun, is getting paid $2 more over minimum wage. So say minimum wage is, well, in California, LA County, it's $15 an hour. They're going to pay a cook $17 an hour to work long-ass shifts and get treated like shit. So they're going to make $2 over minimum wage and get taxed through the asshole. When they could go and work for Uber Eats, DoorDash, they could go work and drive Uber or Lyft. And guess what? They're going to make as much or more money and not deal with some asshole that's writing them up for being 15 minutes late because traffic in LA sucks. People want to work. People are working. They're just not doing the jobs that we did 10, 15, 20 years ago. I grew up in a family of plumbers, blue-collar workers, tradesmen, all of them. I was the first one in my immediate family to not become a plumber. I know I look like a plumber. I'm built like a plumber. I act and talk like a plumber. But I'm not a plumber. I was the first one not to plumb. My cousins on my dad's side, my uncle, all plumbers. My dad, a plumber, obviously. My mom, guess what she did? She kind of plumbed. She ran the business. She ran the operations. But like I said, I was the first one to get out of the industry. Said I didn't want to do this. I used my brain. I was in corporate America for the first 6 years of my adult life. Fresh out of high school, I became a contract recruiter. Yes, that's weird. Not for the military. Tech and IT when it was telecom and IT. Back in 1998, I got in as a research guy, basically a resume puller. I would sit on Monster and go through resumes all day looking for keywords. I used my brain. Yeah. I loved it and I hated it. It was cool. I didn't have a degree. I didn't want to go to college. I fucking hate school. I can't stand it. Not for me. But I found something cool and different. Something to make sure I didn't get into plumbing. That's just how I was. But the whole time I wanted to do comedy. The whole time I was really into the nightlife. The whole time I was into strippers. The whole time I liked to drink and party. So anyways, going back to my original topic here is people are out there working. They're just not working for you. I understand that restaurants have taken a hit. I think, over 1 million restaurants were closed during COVID and never reopened. You know, Los Angeles, where I, spent most of the past 7-8 years of my life, is heavy in hospitality. Not just bars and restaurants, but hotels and things like that, coffee shops, stuff like that. That's where people like me, struggling or, aspiring actors, writers, comedians, producers, all the fucking, cool words that you can think of. Those are where we paid our rent, paid our bills, made our way, so on and so forth. And we took a massive hit. And some of those people are salty, like me. I took every fucking dime I could from unemployment. And a lot of people looked at me in a shitty way, and a lot of people looked at me and said, I get it. My dreams got crushed. They got destroyed. My dreams are now an empty fucking lot where homeless people live. At Sunset and La Brea, 7308 West Sunset Boulevard is where the Dojo of Comedy used to live, inside of Sycamore Tavern. That is where my heart got crushed and stampeded by our government. So excuse me for being still a little bitter. I accomplished a lot there. I'm very proud of what I've done there and what I did there, the people I've met, and the fact that I was able, as a comedian, as an artist, to get up as much as I did. However, I never let my ego get to me. I would not ask. It was in the contract for me to get up on every single show, but it was 5-minute spots. I didn't headline my own shows there. I didn't say I want to go when it's hot. I would cold open on what we call a bringer show, where there's comics on the show that aren't even comics. We call them hobbyists. And I would cold open on that, which means I do 5 minutes before the host, which means I had to warm up the host for the show. And the host job is to warm up. So I had to warm up the warm-up. And I'm 5 years in comedy at the time, and I'm warming up the warm-up guy. So I put my ego aside, and I said, let's do this. And I had fun. And I grinded. I also often closed out shows. Closing out meaning not headlining, the last one up. Sometimes 3, 4, 5 people in the room, plus comics and staff I'm lucky if there's 15 people in there. They don't count, though. Comics don't count as people. We're not real people. We're subhuman. So I was cold opening. I was closing out shows with no one in the room. This is something I learned on my own, and I was actually taught, but I learned on my own how to do this. When I moved to Los Angeles, I would go to the Comedy Store almost every single night. This is before the Comedy Store blew the fuck back up. I was going there, like I said, 5 to 7 nights a week. I would go in, and this is when they would let you in for free. If you showed a social media post, Twitter or Instagram, they would let you in for free. I believe it was Brenton Biddlecombe who was the one running social media that helped. He was the guy behind the guy behind the guy. Reference to the movie Swingers. Guy behind the guy, whatever the fuck it's called. Anyways, so I would go in and I would get there at 8 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday or whatever day. And I would stay until 2:30, and I would watch the great Don Barris close out the Comedy Store Original Room. And I would watch some of the greatest comics come in late night and work out. During, I'd say from about 8 o'clock to 11 or so, it was hot. It was a full room. And then it would slowly trickle off. And then it would get to the late night. And like I said, by about 12 o'clock, not many people in there. But by the time Don Barris got up, it was pretty much empty. I'm not a Comedy Store comic, by the way, at all. I love the Comedy Store. I've performed there. A lot of my friends work there and perform there. So I'm not selling myself as a Comedy Store comic. I'm just saying what I learned from going there. I shut up, I listened, and I learned. That's a reference from the movie Swimming with Sharks with the great Kevin Spacey. Where's he now? He's in England because he's a bad boy. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. So I would sit there and I would watch these comics. Grind and grind and grind in front of a dead audience, no audience, very little audience, and work their shit, work their material. I remember seeing Tony Hinchcliffe, 12:30 on a Tuesday in the Original Room. Brian Moses. A lot of different comics, and they're grinding away at their material. And I was like, that's what I need to do to be good, is to grind. Not sit there in front of a hot audience, which is easy to make people laugh. A hot audience is great. It helps your ego. It makes you feel better. That's what comics want. We want people to laugh at us. Makes us feel good. Strokes our ego. Fills that void. Not all of us. Some of us like the darkness. Some of us like to be ignored. Some of us like the quiet, no applause. That was my childhood. That was my father. Anyways, so that's what I decided to do. I said, I want to close out these shows. I don't want to go in when the room's hot. I want to go in when it's cold and try to bring it back up for one last applause. And I did that for years at the dojo. I put myself through training on my own with no one really telling me how to do it or what to do. However, I was mentored by great people like Sam Tripoli, comics like Joe DeRosa. I'm not going to sit here and name drop, but these are guys that actually sat with me and talked to me about comedy. Love Burt Kreischer. Whitney Cummings would come into the dojo, and there are 6 people in the room with her yellow notepad, and she would work out in front of 6 people. There are comics that would walk into a room with 6 people in there and say, and take a pass. Whitney Cummings, she's had 3 of her own TV shows. She's one of the most successful female comics in the game. She's an international headliner. Guess what she did? She went in a room with 6 people and worked out. Kudos to them. So back to the service industry world. As I went off on a tangent that was actually scheduled, I want to get back to talking a little bit more about the service industry. COVID has changed the game. We all know that. Things have changed. There's people, like I said, have talked about how there's no one that wants to work and everybody this. People are working. Some people are working for themselves, not just like DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber Lyft, all that. Some people decided to just do their own thing, kind of like me. I've been on the road since June 12th. I've been essentially homeless since June 12th. I've lived out of my car, essentially. No, I've lived out of my car since June 12th. Yes, I've stayed places, hotels, friends' houses, couches. Of course, got to sleep in your car when you're on the road. I've slept in every type of surface there is except for the actual ground, and I want to do that soon. I want to take my yoga mat. Nope, I don't do yoga, but I said I need a yoga mat just in case. And I want to put it on the ground and sleep on it one night just to say I slept on the ground in the middle of fucking nowhere. So I decided that I'm going to do what I want to do. I was in Austin for a year. I had a great time. I worked in a restaurant for 3 weeks. I fucked my back up. I fucked my hip up, and I said, fuck this. And I did comedy full time because I was also on unemployment, so I could. And my apartment was getting paid for through Texas because it was filled with mold. So I said, I'm not going to pay for an apartment filled with mold. Anyways, I did comedy for a full year in Texas, in Austin, without having to have a survival job. And then things were going well, but I got an offer in Los Angeles to go back to run my friend's club. I said, okay. The money seemed right at the time. When I went back to Los Angeles after taxes, the money wasn't right, and nor was the job or what I wanted to do. I can't sit in the bar 6-7 days a week and watch alcoholics from the age of 90 all the way down to 21 binge drink and kill themselves, because I was one of those people. I would look at an alcoholic sitting there drinking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's my age, older or younger, getting wasted, and it was a reflection of who I used to be and who I could have been. I can't do that anymore. It's just too fucking hard. And I don't want to. It's my choice. I don't even have to tell you why. But I did it. I did it for money, and I did it to help a friend out. It was my friend's bar, and c'est la vie. That's it. It's over. I left there in April, and I've been pretty much pseudo-unemployed since. I've made money off of comedy as a producer and a performer. I've traveled the country. I've enjoyed my life. It's been tough. It's been hard, but it's been worth it. So something I was seeing in every city and state once again, not just in bars and restaurants, but anywhere where there's actual money being transferred. Not just cash. I'm talking like, swipes and stuff. What's going on with tipping? Just because you did something does not mean you get extra money. Now, there's people out there with plenty of extra money to give. It's only $1. It's only 20%. So sometimes it's 38 cents or something small and ridiculous. But now there's people that expect money, extra money. It's a $2 cup of coffee. They want extra money. All they did was do this. Now I understand with a bartender or server because they're managing multiple people, multiple tables all at one time. But if you're just going to dump coffee in a coffee cup and expect an extra 50 cents to $1, that's really not fair to the consumer. Mind you, I made a living for almost 20 years in the service industry. A good portion of that was bartending, where I was making below minimum wage. Because when it's a tipped tax bracket, you get lower money. Here in Texas, it's still $2.20 an hour for bartenders and servers. Yes, I think it's $2.20. It's under $2 or $3, whatever. $2.20 an hour, still in Texas. And yes, I understand there's no state income tax. That's great. It's still $2.20. Gas for my car is at least $4. I have a nice car. I need to put 93 in it. When I put 91 in it in California, it runs a little janky. My car likes 93. My car likes to fucking eat. My car likes steak. It likes rare to medium rare steak. It doesn't like well done 91. It likes the 93. So anyways, tipping. I don't understand this. I do it, but I need to stop doing it. It's not fucking fair to the people out there that hustle their ass, run 15 different tables, or a bartender that's got serving 30 to 100 customers to make that dollar when all this person did was spin around their iPad and expect an extra dollar. Now, if you want to, that's your money. You do what you want. Personal choice and freedom is where I stand in my life. You do what the fuck you want to do with your money. I don't give a shit. However, if you're just pouring a cup of coffee and you expect an extra buck, I'm sorry, it's just not going to fly anymore. You want to hate me, go right ahead. I'm old school. I earn the fucking money. I earn that tip. I had to make really stupid fucking shots and drinks for drunk guys and drunk girls on their birthday. I had to make shots that didn't even exist. I had to make up shit. I'd have fucking clowns come up to me and say, hey, make me something that tastes good. You know what I made them? Cranberry juice. I had a girl come to me at a bar I used to work at, bartending on a Sunday night. Sunday Funny at the Lodge, the greatest fucking place on the planet. Sunday Funny, this bitch walks up and she goes, make me something yummy or fruity and don't charge me. Those are her exact words. So I sprayed lemonade into my shaker. I shook that bitch up. I poured it out and I said, here you go. She did a shot of lemonade. That's what you get for asking for something yummy and free. You get lemonade. Did she tip? No. I get it. It was lemonade. Here I am bitching about tipping for coffee. I didn't expect a tip from someone that asked me for free shit, so fuck them. Now, you can tip whoever you want. I don't care. It's like I said, it's your money. There's a lot of weird tip jars out there now. I mean, I'm surprised McDonald's doesn't have tip jars. I'm really surprised. But you go to a place just like McDonald's that's not a chain, that's not a massive $1 trillion corporation, and guaranteed there's probably a tip jar. Everybody wants the extra money. And I understand we're still coming out of the clouds of COVID. But this was pre-COVID. People were still out there expecting money for pretty much nothing. Like the song, Money for Nothing. That's what I felt. That's how I feel. And I'm going to do what I want with my money. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to save it. Or I'm going to give it to a bartender for giving me a Sprite. Because I watch that bartender work, and they fucking work. They don't just spin the iPad around and expect an extra $1 for that cup of coffee they just poured. Now, there's some people out there that might say, oh, well, that's all bartenders do. No, they don't. Bartenders do a lot. And nowadays, they do even more than they should do. With everybody leaving the industry or working less because they're doing shit, once again, like Uber Eats or DoorDash, staff are expected to do more for the same pay or less. I was expected to do more for the last job I was at for the same pay, and then told that I no longer get that pay if I want to stay. So in the heat of inflation in California, gas is $6, $7 a gallon, milk's $4 or $5 a gallon, eggs are $6, $8 for a dozen. I'm being looked at in the face and told, if you want to stick around, you're going to get a pay cut. And not like a pay cut. I'm talking, we're going to take you from barely livable wage to poverty level. That's when I said, the fuck you are. It's not going to happen. I'd rather live out of my car and travel the country than deal with this bullshit. So I left, and I'm a lot happier. Yes, I am. Moving on. Customer service. What happened? What happened to customer service? Now I understand once again. I get it. The world's changed. COVID fucked it up. COVID fucked everything up. COVID shook people. I got shook. I'm pretty fucking stable. I stayed sober through the whole COVID thing. I didn't even want to drink. I didn't want to use or anything. You know what I did? I was like, oh, this gives me the opportunity to go do shit. I was getting money from the government, federal and state. I was taking road trips. I was seeing family. I went to the Grand Canyon. I spread my dad's ashes. I traveled through Arizona, Los Angeles, Northern California, Southern. I was everywhere. The first month of COVID, I was in Wisconsin. I went back down to Chicago. I was enjoying my life. Like I said, I saw the silver lining. I said, I'm going to take this time to go do something and not just wallow in self-pity. I'm also lucky because I had a job that paid me decent. Sycamore Tavern, the actual restaurant I used to run, paid me okay. The dojo paid me very well eventually. But I had money on paper where I was making money, so I was getting that federal and state unemployment, where a lot of my friends who are gig workers, who are comedians, so on and so forth, they made a lot of their money off the books. I also made a lot of my money off the books, but we're not going to talk about that. Those are just donations. I didn't make any money. Those are donations in case the government ever sees this. In case those 87,000 IRS agents see this one day and said, where'd that money go? Well, it's gone because it was a donation. It was free money. It's not taxable. It was a birthday gift. My birthday's every day of the year, just like everyone else's that's still alive. Anyways, customer service. What happened? I was at a McDonald's a couple days ago having coffee. I like to have McDonald's coffee. I'm old school. I like shitty coffee. I also like Starbucks coffee. But I wanted to sit down and have just a cheap McDonald's coffee. Thinking about my dad who passed away a few years ago. That's what we would do sometimes. Usually after he beat me, he'd take me out for McDonald's breakfast the next day. Don't want to get too dark. Let's just jump over that little topic. Anyways, I sat there and I watched a McDonald's on a Sunday get absolutely hammered by people. They were understaffed. And the thing is, it was right before breakfast closed. Everybody loves McDonald's breakfast. I'm sitting there About 9:45, I walk in. I was there for at least an hour or two having coffee, and I was watching the chaos. People coming in. My food's wrong. This is wrong. DoorDash, all those other delivery services. They were short-staffed. I felt bad. I almost said, let me help you. I am a king. I am a guru with Expo. The people out there in the restaurant food industry understand what expoing is. I'm really good at it. I can multitask. I can speak kitchen Spanglish. But I respect people, and I know how to talk to people in the kitchen, and I know how to talk to the customers. That's what I ended up love to do at Sycamore Tavern. Anyways, I watched chaos ensue. I felt bad. I didn't know what to do other than just continue to watch. And I said, fuck this, I'm sticking around. And it got bad. There were people coming in screaming. They were swearing at the staff. Some of these staff members didn't know what to do. They were lost. And there's one guy that was basically a food runner that had a little mask under his chin. I know people are still wearing masks, especially in Texas. How weird. And he was smiling and delivering food because he knew that there's nothing he could do. Food cooks the way food cooks. That's it. I know it's McDonald's. It's supposed to be fast food. But watching this chaos, I was like, I feel bad for these people. I felt bad for the staff. They didn't know what to do. They kept bringing out food. They were the wrong orders. People were coming in from the drive-thru. I'm waiting 25 minutes for a couple of, breakfast sandwiches. A line almost out the door because they just didn't have the staffing. And guess what? It's McDonald's. They're $1 trillion corporation. They should be paying people more if they want to keep them or hire people. From about 9:50, I think it was, until about 11, I watched 4 employees come in staggered times, which means all the people that those 4 people that should have been there came in later, which means it's management and scheduling. The people that are working can only do so much, but if there's no one there to do certain things, there's no one there to do certain things. Some people can't do every job there is to do. So I watched 4 employees come in from 9:50 until, I think, like I said, 11 o'clock. Now you take those 4 employees and you just back them up to 9:45. And guess what? All those pissed off customers go away. Guess what? All that food that had to get thrown out or refunded goes away. I watch refunds over and over. These people were pissed, like I said, and I understand they're pissed. You're going to McDonald's, you're supposed to get your food out quick. It didn't happen. But that, to me, is management's problem. It's not the staff, it's not the customers, it's management. That was a poorly managed place. Now, going back again to the customer service, I look at how customer service has gone to shit. Now, it's turned into, we're understaffed, or, we don't have enough. I was doing DoorDash with my niece a few weeks ago. I was doing a ride-along because I was really curious on how this DoorDash shit works. So I sat in the back and I watched the DoorDash, how the whole thing works. When you go into the actual restaurant or fast food joints or whatever it is, they pick up the food and they leave. We walked into a Popeyes on South Lamar. There's 6 people working behind the counter. About 4 of those people are young dudes on their phones, leaned over, looking at their phones. I was like, all right. And I was like, hey, I got to use the washroom. They're like, oh, okay. It's locked. I waited. I went in. The washroom was a fucking pigsty. I don't think pigs would live in that shithole. So you got 5, 6 people sitting behind the weird, they still got plexiglass. Yeah, like it's, like the fucking hood or something. It really wasn't the hood. But it felt like the hood because they had plexiglass. 5, 6 kids standing back there. Most of them on their phone, leaned over, probably on Instagram like I am sometimes, but I'm at least not working. Well, there's a shithole fucking bathroom. Stuff everywhere. Soap out. Trash on the floor. Poop on the toilet. Like, I'm just garbage, just shit. I look in the dining room and I don't do a surface touch because I ain't touching that shit. I do a surface look. You find the glare coming in from the sun, and the Texas sun is fucking unforgiving, so it's always out. and you look at a table and you could see the watermarks or the stains or the goo or the slime that sits there. All the tables were filthy. So this place, this Popeyes, got 5-6 people probably complaining that they're overworked. They got a ton of DoorDash orders just sitting there. No one's in the actual restaurant. I think 2 people were. The bathroom's a shit sty. The dining area is a shit sty. And they're all on their phones. Now, these are probably people that are complaining that they're overworked or tired or should get more than 5 or 10 or whatever the minimum wage is here. So I think it's $7 or $8 an hour. But yes, these corporations can pay you a lot more. They just don't want to. However, you still got to do your fucking job. And that's my problem. Customer service is lacking in a lot of different ways and places. People still think that we're in COVID. People still think that we're in a pandemic. Look at the CDC guidelines. Guess what? We're not. It's over. It's time to move on. The people that are holding on to it, you scare me. You scare me more than the virus did when it was first launched. Let go. It's over. Let's move on. We'll be fine. You know what? You want to wear a mask, go and wear a mask. I don't care. That's your personal choice and freedom to continue to wear the mask. I don't really care. But if I'm going to go into a bar, restaurant, any type of business, and you're going to give me any product that I have to consume, I'm going to go in your bathroom because the bathroom is how you know how the kitchen is. That's an old trick of restaurants. It's kind of like a girl. You jump into a girl's car and it's filthy. Her pussy probably smells. It's probably dirty. Same with a guy. His ball sack probably smells. He's probably got more duck butter down there than he should. But you go into a bathroom of a bar, restaurant, anywhere where they serve you something that's consumable and the bathroom's a shit style, watch out for the food. Not all fast food. I mean, yeah, fast food's bad for you. But not all fast food kitchens are total shit styles. But you can judge it by the bathroom. That's how I am. Then again, like I said earlier, I'm the son of a plumber. I enjoy bathrooms. Anybody that actually follows me right now on social media knows I take shitter selfies. I love taking shitter selfies. A 44-year-old grown man taking shitter selfies. Bizarre, I know. But guess what? That's what I like to do. I grew up in this shit. I was born in this shit. I was raised in this shit. That's how my family made a living, was from shit. So it's an ode to my father. It's an ode to my family. It's an ode to my uncles and cousins that are still here, that have moved on to the other world. It's an ode to them. And to get deep, when you're on the shitter, you're at your most vulnerable point of your fucking life, of your day at least. You got your pants off. You don't have makeup on. You look like this. And you're squeezing one out. You're vulnerable. So people, I'm showing you my vulnerability every single day because I'm a vulnerable human being. And I think it's funny. All right. Customer service. Here's something I want to let all those bartenders know. First of all, there are different types of bartenders. There are just bartenders. There are star tenders. There are flair tenders. There are mixologists. A friend of mine just told me 2 weeks ago, he said all mixologists are bartenders that can't fight. Funniest thing I've heard in a while, and it's fucking true. If you think you're a mixologist and not a bartender, you probably can't take a punch or deliver a punch. The bars I grew up in, you better learn how to do both. I was a star tender, not a flair tender. I had a lot of friends. A lot of people came out to see me. I'm a personable guy. And I used to be able to fucking drink. Oh, I'm talking Midwest drinking. Blue collar Midwest drinking. Half a bottle of Jameson. That's how you started the night. How did you finish the night? I don't know. I was a blackout drinker. I've blacked out well over 1,000 times in my life that I know of. Probably more. Anyways, customer service. This is to you bartenders especially. Guess what? It's your job to greet the customer, to ask the customer what they want. If they want another drink, if they want another shot, if they want silverware for their salad that they ordered that they never got. I'm talking about the silverware, not the salad. When you get a customer that comes to the bar or a table and you have to serve either or, make sure that they have their roll-up. You know what a roll-up is? To the people that don't know about the service industry, the roll-up is the fork, knife, sometimes spoon, rolled up in a napkin or whatever that's there before the food. The worst thing you do is to have to ask for those utensils after the food comes out, especially when the bartender is working alone and or is in the weeds, and it takes the bartender an extra 5 minutes to hand you that. So bartenders out there, make sure when you take someone's order, the first thing you do is you drop a side plate and the roll-up. That also helps if there's a food runner know that that person over there by seat 35 ordered food. It's kind of like when someone sits down at the bar, you drop a napkin or a coaster. It's just polite, but it also lets people know if there's another bartender or bar back that that person's been served or you've taken their order. So you drop a napkin in front of a customer that ordered some fucking drink that you don't want to make, like some dumb slushy or some 16, was a blue motherfucker. The other bartender, if there is another bartender, the manager, the barback, whoever knows that that person's been served because they've got a fresh napkin in front of them. Once again, to you new bartenders, to the young bartenders, unfortunately, I have to come after you millennials. Guess what? You have to ask people if they want another drink or if they want a drink in general. It's not my job as a customer to have to constantly ask you for another drink, for a refill, for my fucking fork, for my salad. I don't eat a lot of salad, so let's be honest. For my French fries, for my fucking baked potato bits or whatever the hell they're called. Potato skins. It's not my job to have to constantly ask you while you most likely have your fucking back turned to me on your phone, most likely on TikTok, because millennials love TikTok. It's not my job to ask you for another drink. It's your job to ask me. It's hospitality, service. You serve and you're hospitable to your guests, customers. People like to call them guests now because it sounds cooler and sexier. They're our guests. No, they're your customers. They're buying something and they're tipping. Once again, we're going to go back to tipping. Why should I tip you 20% if I've had to ask you 3, 4, 5 times for a refill or for my 3rd, 4th, 5th shot and or drink or beer or whatever the fuck it is I'm ordering? Don't turn your back on me. Why do you do that, people? Because you don't want to be there. You want to be in TikTok land. I understand. I'm on Instagram way too much. I'm looking at big titty bitches all the time. I love big titty bitches. I love titties in general. That's why I grew my own. So people out there, new bartenders, young bartenders, even the older ones that might suck or need a little reality check. You go by, you ask a customer if they're good. I'm old school. I got trained by one of the best fucking bartenders out there, Dave Blue Munsterman, who now lives in Hawaii, who owns his own concierge service. Yes, the come up is real. He started out as a bartender. That guy worked all over. And what did he tell me? Address the people. Throw the napkin down. Ask them what they want. Be the king. He told me, be the king of the 30-second conversation. Don't get stuck talking to a customer forever. Unless there's no one else there. Then it's understandable. You got 30 customers in the bar, 30-second conversations with everybody. Make sure they're happy. Do whatever you need to do. But, like I said, folks, bartenders, you especially, that's who I'm talking to. Not the customers, not the servers, not the cooks, not the chefs, not the fucking food runners, not security, not door guys. You bartenders that have the fucking arrogance and the attitude, that think you run the place, that think if I'm not working here, this place is gonna fall without me. It's gonna fail. No, put your ego aside. You're there to serve people. Sometimes a lot of people. Sometimes you have to serve people at the bar and the tables. Pub style, they call it, tavern style. The place I worked at in Los Angeles just recently, Toluca Lake, the bartenders had to bartend, run all their own food, serve their own bar, and serve the tables in there. I've seen some badass motherfuckers do that shit. Most of the people that work there are badass motherfuckers, bartender-wise. I watched some people hold down their shit. I watched a bartender make sure there's 60 people in that fucking little bar, and she was able to get to every single one of them and make sure that they had a drink in their hand, a full drink if they needed anything, constantly moving. And this was when I started there. They were running 8, 9, 10-hour shifts, and they ended up cutting it down to 5-hour shifts. But I watched, and I watched good, and I watched everywhere I go, even fucking cafes with coffee. You have to address people. It's not my job as a customer to address you. It's your job to address me. That's how this works. This isn't an ego thing. This isn't I'm the king. I've come in. I'm a customer. Serve me. No, I've been a bartender, server, all that shit for 20 fucking years. I was a door guy in a parking lot. I've gotten beat up more in my life than I'd like to admit. And I've delivered plenty of punches. It's not something I'm proud of, but it is what it is. Most of the time I got beat up, though, is when I was a child. So thanks, Dad, and my older brothers. Anyways, let's get out of that darkness once again. Nobody likes to be there but me. I enjoy it. I thrive on it. Once again, yes. Oh, yeah. So, moving on. I am currently in a very interesting phase of my life. I'm trying to move away from service industry completely into comedy completely. It is not easy. I've made a good living in the service industry. Mainly bartending, because you make a shitload of money, and most bartenders steal or skim or give away drinks to their friends. To you people from the lodge, my customers, my friends, my guests, remember $7 tab night? That's right, Danny, $7 tab night. You get a tab for $7. You drank about $100 worth of booze, and you leave a $20 tip. And then some people like to walk on that $7 tab and not even leave a $20 tip. Those days are kind of going away. Now that everything's credit. Cash used to be king. Now it's credit. Everybody wants to know, especially the government. Hence why they, once again, I'm going to repeat, hired 87,000 agents to knock on your door with a firearm on their side to make sure that you're accountable. That cash you made is being taxed. Oh, those were good days. Yes, I'm trying to, very hard, transfer from service industry into comedy, entertainment full-time. Now, when I was in LA, when I had the dojo, when I was at Sycamore, it was a beautiful blend of both. That was a situation, that was a life, that was something I could never dream of. When I moved to LA 8 years ago, I never thought I was going to be doing something like that. Working with the people I worked with, dealing with those types of people. And all around, it was a pretty good fucking thing. But it was a blend of both. I still had to go in the kitchen and deal with kitchen shit. I still had to go in the kitchen on busy days or nights in Expo. And I actually enjoyed Expo. You know why? Because shit got done right. And I didn't have to deal with customers. Being sober, you just get sick of dealing with drunk people all fucking day and night. So that's what I did. I'd even occasionally wash dishes, because you know what? You're never too good to not wash dishes. And that was a perfect storm. I knew that situation, there'd never be another one like it, ever in my life. And I grasped it. And I actually got sober when I started the dojo. I got sober, yeah. I was a few months in, the dojo had launched. I'd been doing comedy at Sycamore for a while, doing my own comedy shows, and I had an independent guy that came in that did shows. He was doing comedy sometimes 3 nights a week. I was on those shows, and I did my own. And then my CFO, my owner, my boss. So everybody's got a boss. Even God has a boss. Her name's Mother Nature. He brought me in the office. He fired the GM, and he said, "We got rid of the GM. We need you to take the lead." Not the GM, just the lead. There's a big difference, apparently. And he said, "What do you want to do with the upstairs room?" And I said, "Well, Mike, I'm a comedian, and I moved here to pursue comedy." And he said, "Well, just make it a comedy room." And I said, "I'd love to." And he goes, "Okay, cool. Do what you need to do." He was as laissez-faire as they fucking come. This was a fucking dream come true that I didn't even know was a dream. And I sat there, and I was like, all right, cool. And he looked at me, and he said, "Trevor," he's like, You moved to LA to do comedy and now you got your own room. Pretty cool, huh? And I was like, yeah. I had no fucking idea what I was getting myself into. I was drunk a lot. I was hungover a lot. And I had a lot of coke overs. I never did coke until I moved to Los Angeles. I only did coke for 3 years. But in that 3 years, it felt like 10 years. Because you just don't sleep ever. When you're on coke, I tell you this. People that have never done cocaine, first of all, don't. Secondly, coke, all it does is make you want to do more. And when you're out, it sucks. Because then you can't sleep. So I sat there, probably coke over, hungover, some sort of over, and I tried to digest what just happened. I got excited, and I sat on it for a night. I was like, what am I going to do? I guess I'm going to run a comedy room in Los Angeles and Hollywood at this big-ass restaurant that I have to manage too. Next day, what did I do? Called Sam Tripoli, told him, hey, man, I got the room. He went fucking berserk. I went berserk. We met at Denny's. Many times. We met at the Denny's a couple days later. It was on Sunset and Gower. We're having a conversation. We're talking. He's like, why aren't you eating? I didn't know how to tell him because I have a coke over and my stomach's turning to shit. It's rotting from the inside because I did coke all night. So we sat there and talked about what we're going to do and how we're going to do things. I look to my left. I see this tall, strapping older man with long hair. My eyes light up. And I was like, no fucking way. And he goes, what's wrong? I go, no fucking way. And I fucking flipped. I ran out the Denny's like I was dining ditching. Ran outside and ran up Sunset Boulevard. And I look up and it was Danny Carey, the drummer from Tool. Somehow I spotted him. My brain is mush. I can't eat. I still have coke running through my veins. And I spotted Danny Carey from the corner of my eye, the drummer from Tool. People that know me know that I'm a big Tool fan. People that don't know me now know I'm a Tool head. Got a picture with them. That's it. Anyways, that's just a little story I wanted to throw in there. So I ran the Dojo of Comedy for years with Sam Tripoli. But it was when it started, I was still using. And then I got sober. I think I took over the club in end of October, right around November or somewhere in there. And February 27th, I got attacked, stabbed, left for dead. February 28th, I woke up and I decided to get sober because I was in a hospital and I thought I was dead. And I said, I got to change my ways. That's for another time, but I just wanted to touch on that. But I had the perfect situation. I was able to do comedy. I was able to produce shows. I was able to run a restaurant. I was able to run a comedy club. And I started running private events. I had some pretty cool Hollywood mixers. It was a lot of fun. It was actually a fucking blast. I got to meet a lot of cool people. Producers, writers, actors, comedians, athletes, you name it. Everybody under the sun. It was awesome. But deep down inside, I wanted to get the fuck out of the service industry. I knew it was going to kill me. I felt like it was going to kill me. And it almost killed me, kind of. And that's where I am now. I'm trying to get out of it. But they keep pulling me back in. It's like, God damn, I just want to get out of this industry. Everybody wants to do what they want to do for a living, make millions of dollars, have their own Netflix special or Netflix shows or Hulu, or whatever the fuck streaming services that you use or love. Me, I just want to make a fucking living. I don't want to have to serve another rum and coke to some asshole. I don't want to have to serve another fucking blue motherfucker to a bunch of kids. And I don't want to have to drop another plate of food that some asshole customer is going to complain about because there's tomatoes on it and I asked for no tomatoes. And it's my fault. I don't want to do that shit anymore. I feel like I've earned my way out of it. I'm 44. I've been doing it 20 years. I want out of it. It's like the mafia. I want out of that shit. Actually, I'd rather work for the mafia at this point in my life. So if any mafia people come across this, I'd love to come work for you. You can look up my Uncle Steve Leshik. He was in the mafia. He's dead now, so you can't go kill him. Miss Uncle Steve. Such a great guy. Ukrainian. In the Italian mob in Chicago for decades. That's for another time. I don't want to get into that story. That's a whole tangent right there. So yes, I'm in the process of merging completely out. Actually, I should say transferring out, transitioning. I'm a trans right now. I'm transitioning out service, hospitality into comedy. I want to do it full time. We all do. But I can also produce, not just perform. And here I am doing my own podcast now. I'm late in the game, I know. What's the next thing to do to be famous? I don't know. Everyone thinks it's TikTok. I won't get on TikTok. I don't have a TikTok account, so don't ask. TikTok creeps me out. I don't like it. The Chinese own it. You know what it is? It's data mining. That's what they're doing with it. People that understand that, data mining. They're just extracting all the information from your phone, taking all of it and then putting it into a warehouse of information. And then they try to sell you shit you don't need. That's all everything is now, is it's selling shit you don't need and you expecting to buy it. Sell, buy. I don't want to. I don't want TikTok. Stop telling me to get on TikTok. I have a friend that's 50 years old and he just became TikTok famous. 50. He looks great though. He looks maybe 30, 35 when he shaves. When he lets his beard grow out, he looks like me. All right, he doesn't look like me. He's in way better shape. However, the fucker's TikTok famous. I give him kudos. I give him credit because he got on TikTok late in the game and the fucker makes a living off it now. I don't want to do it. I kind of like the old school way. I've been on the road for 2.5 months. My back hurts. I'm tired. I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to have sex, not in my car alone in the middle of nowhere. It's weird when you're traveling through the country. You pull into a rest stop. You go to the furthest space down just so you can crank one out. It's a sad life I've lived, but you got to do what you got to do to survive, right? I'm not lot lizarding it out there, okay? I'm not beating off truckers for gas money. I'm beating off myself so I can sleep. It's a lot easier to go to bed with an unloaded gun, okay? I drove like 12 straight hours. The first thing I wanted to do was rub one out. I don't know if it's legal or not, but fuck it. We break the law all the time. I crack myself up. I have a good time anywhere I go. Even sober. Good Time Trey. It's my new nickname, Good Time Trey. Yes. Once again, I'm trying to transition. I am transitioning. I will transition out of service industry and into full-time comedy and entertainment. There's parts of me that want to stay in the service industry just to give my experience to other people, to help them, to mentor them, to lead them to the promised land of just money, and that's it. Because what do you want to do in that industry? You want to make money, make as much as you can, and get the fuck out of it. I'd like to own something one day, to be honest. Not booze, though. I'd like to open a coffee shop, a cafe, something of the sort. I've got some cool ideas. But that's for another time. So, this is going back 10, 12 years ago. I don't know how long it's been now. But I, Trevor Keveloh, once had dinner with Anthony Bourdain. Yes, Anthony Bourdain. The real Anthony Bourdain. The dead Anthony Bourdain. He is no longer with us. If you've never been or haven't been around in the past few years, he passed away. Apparent suicide, but there are other speculations on what really happened. I'm not going to get into that because this isn't a conspiracy theory show, and I know some things that might get me in trouble, which I'm going to talk about right now. Yes! So it all started, I was living in Las Vegas years ago. One night I was texting with a friend. And I was like, hey, who do you think would buy these things, whatever? Who would buy this product? And he said, did you ever think about hitting up his wife, Octavia? Now, Anthony Bourdain's wife, before he passed, I think he was estranged when he passed because he was dating Asia Argento when he passed. But his wife of years, Octavia, was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. Say that 5 times real fast. I'm not going to try because it's probably going to sound like a slur of some sort. Because I sound still to this day like a drunk plumber because that's what I grew up around. Anyways, One day I sent her a tweet. The next day I woke up and bam, she had bought hundreds of dollars worth of product from a company I used to work with. And that was awesome. And I got a lot of credit for it and all this. At the time I was writing for a website. I was doing interviews for women all around the country, all around the world, giving them a voice. And I decided to reach out to Octavia. She bought the product. I did an interview on her months later, and the last question I asked her was, would you and Anthony be interested in having dinner with me and my friends and company? And she said, yes, the next time we're together, we'll all do dinner. And I'm like, cool. I didn't think it would happen. And guess what? It fucking happened. We happened to be in Las Vegas at the same time for the Mixed Martial Arts Award. Actually, no, it was the UFC Fan Expo. My bad. The UFC Fan Expo, which is typically right around or during the 4th of July. So we were out there for stuff. Octavia and Anthony were out there. Anthony had just gotten into jiu-jitsu. So we met at the once was, now gone, Carnivino at the Palazzo. And I'm telling you, this place was awesome. Used to be owned by Mario Batali. He was a part owner, I believe. Head chef, part owner, whatever. Mario Batali got Me Too'd. And guess what? That restaurant eventually went away. But before he got Me Too'd, he ran a hell of a restaurant. Like I said, the Carnivino at the Palazzo in Las Vegas. So there I was in a private room with Anthony Bourdain, his wife Octavia, and some friends. Wow! For a guy that can't shut the fuck up, I didn't say a word for the first 30 minutes of that dinner. Anthony Bourdain was sitting right next to me. I'm talking right here. I couldn't believe it. I almost did one of these to touch him. I thought he was on TV, but this guy was sitting right next to me, and we were going drink for drink. Forgot what he was drinking, not going to lie. Can't remember what the fuck it was. It was some restaurant mixology house drink. Me? Oh, no. Jameson Neat. 3 fingers, motherfucker. We had about 3 or 4 of those. The appetizers started coming out. And every other appetizer was the same thing. This is off the menu. Off the menu. Chef's choice. Off the menu. Over and over. And we're sitting there sharing stories. He's telling us about his life. He's telling us, you know, his experiences. And we're doing the same. And people always ask me the same fucking thing. How was it? Like, what is it about him? What can you tell me? And I'll tell you this. The fucking coolest thing about Anthony Bourdain was when you talked to him, when you told a story, he gave you the same exact respect that you gave him when you watched him on TV. He reciprocated that. So when you're glued in listening to every word he had to say, every detail, all that, he did the same thing for you. He actually gave a shit about what you had to say. That's what made him amazing. He was a cook. He was a chef. He was a fry, I think he was a fry chef before he became famous at 44. And he was an overnight sensation. However, he'd been doing a lot to get to that point. It's not like one day he was walking down the street and all of a sudden somebody just threw a book at him and said, write this book, and became famous. He'd been working towards that. As far as him being a great chef, I don't know. I never ate his food. But he claims he wasn't the best chef. However, he was one of the best writers, and most importantly, he was one of the best hosts. He was a great fucking dude. Now, about an hour in or so, how many drinks in? I don't know how many it was. We ordered our steaks. And he ordered, I think everyone ordered the steaks, bone-in, tomahawk style. These things were aged, I think, 9 months. You ever seen a tomahawk style steak? It's just a big piece of meat with the stegosaurus ass tail hanging out of it. Just that big piece of bone. And out they come. And I was like, holy shit. They just drop them. Just boom. New York style. Boom. Boom. And the whole cast and crew of the restaurant were there to serve Anthony Bourdain and us. And the head waiter comes over. He's like, is there anything else I can get you guys? And I deadpan this motherfucker. I look right at him and say, yeah, can I get some ketchup? And the whole table, that landed like the worst joke I've ever told in my life. Not one laugh. This is before I got into comedy full time. Not one laugh. They thought I was serious. And I had to backstep. I felt like I said a slur in the wrong place. Because if you pretty much did, you talk about ketchup with steak around Anthony Bourdain at the Carnivino, you're going to get looked at like a piece of shit. I backed up and just said, whoa, I'm just kidding, guys. And there was that, oh, okay. Like, man, that's about 3 or 4 Jameson Neats will make you say at dinner with Anthony Bourdain. Could I get steak with it, or could I get ketchup with this steak? Anyways, so we ate. We gorged ourselves. It was amazing. Best dinner of my life, obviously. After that, we decided to drink some more. We drink some more. We're pretty fucking drunk. We're kind of rubbing on each other's shoulders. He tells us about his deal with CNN that nobody knew, and I felt so cool. There have been times in my life where people have told me some really interesting things that I never put out there in the universe, but I talked to my, friends about. That was one of them. I never went out there and told people that he was going to be transferring to CNN eventually. I told my friends, but I didn't put it out there on social media. I didn't write about it. I didn't do any of that shit. I am good about some information to keep to myself or to my friends. Example. 20-something years ago, I moved to Los Angeles for the very first time. I was mentored by Bob Odenkirk. Some people know him as Better Call Saul. He told me over 20 years ago, it's been 24 years now, it was in 2000s when I moved there. We went out for dinner, and he told me that the famous Matt Foley motivational speakers skit by Chris Farley was actually written at Second City, Chicago, when they were all there together back in the day. I told my friends this, and they thought I was fucking crazy. They're like, no, I don't know. And I told them I had dinner with the guy that actually wrote the skit in the 80s or whenever it was. At Second City, Chicago, and they didn't believe me. 24 years later, guess what? Everyone now knows that Matt Foley, motivational speaker, played by Chris Farley, was written at Second City, Chicago, by Bob Odenkirk, who is from my hometown, Naperville, Illinois. You know what that guy was inspired by? The van down by the river? That was inspired by the burnouts in the 80s that lived out of their van at the Riverwalk in downtown Naperville. I've been trying to tell that story for 20 years, and people thought I was nuts. Now Bob finally admitted it and told everybody. So here I am telling you about Anthony Bourdain. He passed away, so he can't say if it's true or not. However, Anthony did tell me some things that he shouldn't have said. Like, because I've talked about this already, so if they come after me, they come after me. He was in the Philippines, I think it was. Somewhere in Asia, I don't know where, years ago. And he was shooting something, a special show, whatever it was. And he told me he ran into a celebrity in the elevator, a real douchey celebrity that has slick back hair and a ponytail, that prides himself on being a mixed martial artist or a karate guy, actually a Aikido guy. I'm not going to say who, I'm going to make you do your work. But he prides himself as an Aikido specialist. He walks into an elevator, and this celebrity says, no, don't let him in. And he goes, come on, I'm here shooting. We know who each other. I'm not some weird fanboy, whatever. And his bodyguard, celebrity's bodyguard, tells Anthony Bourdain he can't come in. And he's like, dude, I need you to go down, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't get on the elevator. Has to wait for the next one. Gets a little pissed off. Mind you, Anthony's telling a story to all of us. We're all drunk. I remember the story pretty well because not just being a drunk, but being a professional drinker, I do remember some things. This I remember very well, and the whole table remembers it very well. So about a day or two later, Anthony tells us that he saw this certain celebrity down in this area with underage kids. Yes. Put 2 and 2 together. Yes. He told us that. He told us that he saw this celebrity with underage kids doing things you're not supposed to do with underage kids in another country. So when people say things like, oh, do you think Anthony Bourdain was murdered? Do you think he was suicided by the Clintons? I don't know, but he told me some shit that he probably shouldn't have told me. But it's out there. If you go to Anthony Bourdain's Twitter right now, you can still see him outing Hillary Clinton. Now, this isn't about politics. Anthony Bourdain, was a staunch Democrat. He was a classic Democrat. He was an old school liberal, not a Republican, not a conservative. This guy loved Obama. But he had some shit with Hillary. It's on his Twitter. It's still out there. Whatever he got into the last couple of years of his life with Asia Argento, I don't know shit about it, but you got to question it. Anyways, just wanted to throw that in for all the conspiracy theorists that come across this. You never know. That dinner was the best dinner of my life. Well, one of the best. I guess dinners with my dad are some of the best. Dinners with my family when we all got along before we shit on each other. Those are pretty good dinners. But this was one of those dinners that you brag about, like I'm doing right now. That's a dinner that I wrote about. That was the first time I got to go viral. I wrote a story about that called Dinner with the Bourdains, Bourdain Approved. I wrote the story. I wrote 2 versions, actually. I wrote one that was kind of weird, and I wrote one that was really good. I sent it to Octavia and Anthony. I emailed it to them. They loved the story. They said, don't change a thing. And they said, we'll push it. So I wrote this little piece. It's on my link tree about having dinner with the Bourdains. And that was the first time I got to go viral, and that was fucking cool. The website I posted it on at the time, we get about 50 to 100 people a day, clicks, traffic-wise. Once that was released, I think we jumped to 6,000 overnight. So 50, 80 a night to 6,000. His producer, I forgot her name. I think she's Cho something, whatever. She retweeted it. They retweeted it. They loved it. It was awesome. It was really awesome. The next day was the actual fan expo. We had to go and do stuff at the expo and work. Everybody was licking their wounds in the booth. And I look across the Mandalay Bay Expo Center, and I just see this tall, salt and peppered haired guy, and it looked like Moses parting the Red Sea, and there were people just staring, and it was Anthony Bourdain walking, and people were just moving. And he walked up to our booth, and he gave us a big hug, and he ducked because he's so fucking tall. And he ducked, and he comes over, he gives me a big hug. Octavia gives me a big hug. We all ask each other how we're feeling. We're all fucking hungover, but we're all, professionals, like I said. Gives me a big hug. We take some pictures. It was great. It was awesome. He was a great dude. Now he's gone. So that's my story. That really happened. That's not my claim to fame. The dojo's not my claim to fame. Running the lodge in Four Lakes, Lyle, Naperville is not my claim to fame. I really don't know what is. Maybe it's Corrupted Comedy. Maybe it's the Sin Life podcast. Maybe it's just me being me, doing what I want to do. Maybe that's my claim to fame. But right now, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. I'm in Austin, and I am doing comedy all over the country, and it's pretty fucking cool. I stuck to my guns. I stayed true to myself. I didn't suck any dick to get here. And I was honest as fuck. Not a headliner, but I've headlined. So, folks, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. This is our first one. Follow me on all social medias. Trevor Keveloh, Trevor, Kev as in Victor, Eloh. Corrupted Comedy with a K. And the Sin Life Podcast. Some of you that don't know, sin means service industry night or sinning, which is what we all do. Folks, thank you very much. Have a good night. Please be safe. Go fuck yourselves.